there's something that binds us, right? And our love for Star Wars, but it's also not just a love for, it's a love for what it means. It's a love for hope. And there's so many messages and so many things that thematically we hope affect our lives and stuff. And when we all respond to it, you want to be a part of something that actually makes a difference.
You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Welcome to Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars fan talk show. I'm one of your hosts, Pete Fletzer, and along with my co-host, Nick Milkey, we bring you conversations with the people behind the Star Wars fandom. And today, we've got something really special lined up for you. Picture this, a galaxy where Star Wars, Star Trek, Felicity, heroes, and other things all collide, and at the center of it all is a remarkable guest who's experienced all of those exciting worlds. Yes, folks, we are talking about none other than Greg Grunberg, who's brought his unique touch to the Star Wars universe as Snap Wexley, and so many other great roles, we can't even begin to list them all here. Hey, have you ever wondered what it's like to be in the midst of a Star Wars production with JJ Abrams at the helm? Well, Greg's got you covered. He shares anecdotes from his friendship with JJ Abrams and what it was like to be part of the epic space saga, including one of the funniest on-set stories I guarantee that you have never heard before. But that's not all. Greg's conversation also takes us into the world of charity and community. He talks about his involvement with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and his initiative Talk About It, which raises awareness for epilepsy. It's really a heartfelt reminder of how the Star Wars community and fandoms in general rally around causes that matter. But before we dive into the interview, a quick reminder to connect with us on social media and stay updated on all things around the galaxy. You can find us at our website at the sswnetwork.com, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at the SSW Network. Twitter, we have at the SSW Network, but you can also follow this show specifically at ATGcast. And don't forget to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/the SSW Network. Being a patron gives you early access to the shows, invites you to special events, and even a chance to join us live with celebrities during recording sessions. Hey, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them for us on our voicemail line. That's 504-321-1501, 504-321-1501. This episode was originally recorded in May of 2024 as part of Podathon 24, benefiting the Make-A-Wish Foundation. If you'd like to donate, the donation line is still open at thepodathon.com. Go there and click Donate Now, and you can still provide a wish for a kid who needs it most. And now, let's dive into this amazing conversation. Sit back, relax, and strap yourselves in and join me, Nick, and special guest Greg Grunberg for another trip around the galaxy. Let's not keep our guests waiting. Why don't we bring in Mr. Snap Wexley himself? There he is. What's going on?
Oh, Snap Wexley back from the dead.
Is he dead? Is he? Are we sure?
I don't know. I mean, when you
nobody's on camera.
Yeah, exactly. You see an explosion and Poe yelling, "Snap!" I mean, you kind of think. And
no one's ever really gone.
I've told you this story before, but for people that haven't heard the story, was, you know, JJ is my best friend. JJ is best friend in the whole world since we were 5 years old. And he said to me, you know, oh, look at this. Look at this. I mean, that's who's calling me.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? Guess what?
Put him on.
I am not going to call. I'm not going to take that call.
Look at that. You heard it here first. Podathon ranked over JJ Abrams.
Pretty good.
One moment.
So
he knew you were talking about him.
Yeah, exactly. His ears were ringing. He, when he broke the news to me that he had the chance to do this, and I was like, oh my God, we're freaking out, right? And then we were talking about it. We talk every day, and then he tells me that he's actually going to be doing Star Wars, and he says, I think I have something cool for you, whatever. And then over the course of, when we were about to do the second film, episode 9, I remember him saying to me, all right, this is going to be really cool and you're going to die. And I was like, nope, No. I'm not dying. No. And so it was an argument between the two of us because I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? And then he told me this is going to be the last one. He's not going to do anything else, probably. You know what I mean? Never say no.
Right,
but
sure.
And I was like, well, if you're not involved, then okay, I get it. But I love Star Wars so much. I said I couldn't believe that, that first of all, getting the opportunity, but it was a battle. Now we're working on this new show called Duster. We just wrapped first season, 8 episodes for Max. And same thing. He's like, all right, so and I'm not going to tell you, whether I do die or not, but it was the same thing. It's like people tend to love, like they're like, it's Greg Grunberg. Oh, you never. So there's this like love for my characters that they write these great characters, and then they're the ones that you'll be most disappointed. They could,
It sounds like JJ's trying to Sean Bean you in every way that he can.
That's exactly right.
I was just gonna say, stay off of Game of Thrones, man. Stay away from George R.R. Martin. He's the same thing.
Hey, but by the way, before we go on, how are you guys? What's going on?
Man, it's been crazy. So since we had you on last, we've created this Thursday night live show, which is ATG Live, which we do usually, but we're doing it here tonight on Podathon. Yep. We're good. We're just we're loving bringing the Star Wars news and the community, the Star Wars community it gets a bad rap, right? A lot of people say things like nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, but the reality is there's so many great people that we have the opportunity to talk to on a regular basis, and just this, and that's kind of the whole thing around Podathon too. Is it's community. It's this great community of people, whether it's people who we see on the big screen like yourself, or people behind the scenes, or friends of ours who Nick and I have become best friends, and we've only met a couple times because we've met through Star Wars, and that's just so important and so great.
And you guys are living in different prisons, so it's hard for them.
That's true. That is true.
That's right.
Look, I will, whenever you ask, I'm on. I mean, this is the thing: the opportunity to become friendly with guys like you and that are sincere, that are really nice. I mean, everybody. I haven't met, although it's so funny that you say that because every so often, I was just at a quinceañera, right? A good friend of ours had a double quinceañera.
Nope.
And his twins, and so it was like a quinceañera and a quinceañero, which guys usually, I guess boys usually don't have it, but I mean you have twins anyway. It was so beautiful, and my buddy Dennis, he's the dad. It was incredible. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and the pediatrician for his kids, he has 7 kids. Guy was so nice and so sweet. And he's like, hey, by the way, I know who you are. And all these people are coming over and asking for pictures. It's like so sweet. And he goes, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, you're a genius. You figured it out. And he goes, and then he goes, what's going on? What happened with episode 8? I hated it. It was the worst. Like everybody has a strong opinion. And then I've heard the opposite. And then I've heard, it's exactly right. And I think it's because Star Trek's the same thing. These people are really smart. It's a very personal thing. It's a personal thing for me. I grew up with this.
Yeah.
And and it's the mythology and the lore and like thinking where the characters could go, where they came from, agreeing and disagreeing with the story. I don't know. It's the best. I'd rather be a part of something. I obviously had a small part, but I'd rather be a part of something that evokes that kind of reaction and emotion and intelligence than be a part of something where it's like, what was that? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I almost forgot about that. It's just important. It's important.
It's a great point. And I think that's just, and I like to believe that the majority of the people who come in hot on Rise of Skywalker or Force Awakens or Last Jedi, it's because this means so much to them. And it's, honestly, I have strong opinions on a lot of it, but I also, the other big difference is, and it's funny that the pediatrician came in hot with you on a Star Wars movie.
Now, I got to tell you, he was 3-4 drinks in.
Fair, which is usually where I start. And like Nick and I have this sort of mantra is like, you don't have to like something, but you're not allowed to be an asshole about it. Right. That's the basic simple thing that we try to go with. And I see it all. I mean, I wear Star Wars shirts all the time. I hand out podcast stickers and I tell people and it is funny. You do get people who, some of them are like, so what do you think? What did you think of the sequels? Where do you stand on those? And and it's
The
interesting.
litmus test. You're waiting to see where is this conversation going to go.
And when you have the
One way or the other.
conversation, and you realize they think they didn't enjoy it, or they think they loved it, but they haven't had a chance to talk about it with somebody who gets it. Because I mean, let's face it. I mean, my wife right now, she's in the other room. She doesn't care about Star Wars, but somebody who cares about Star Wars needs somebody to talk to about it, and that's why we're so glad that we can do this sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's very, very cool. I love it. And today is a very busy day. I mean, it's I get asked
so much going on.
do a ton of stuff. You guys are in the top of my list.
Well, we're always thankful you're back. We are, we're going to get to some Star Wars. I know you've got a story we want you to tell us here in a little bit. But we're doing this for Make-A-Wish. This is the 4th year that we're doing Potathon, raising money for Make-A-Wish.
Now,
go ahead.
I'm cutting you off. Okay, with the Chewbacca beard. I'm cutting you off. Here we go. So I just want to say how much I love Make-A-Wish. Yeah. So I have a band. Where's my band stuff? I don't have any band stuff here, but called the Action Figures. Mm-hmm. And in that band is Scott Grimes, Adrian Pazdar. We've had a million other people guest and come into the band, but Nick Marzak, Brad Savage, a bunch of people. But we have people coming and going, and it's we're action figures, so we're on stage. Everybody has an action figure, right, on stage. So, but we got asked to do the Make-A-Wish Foundation gala in LA, and it was so great. And now we're getting inquiries from all. Make-A-Wish is a massive organization. They do so much good work. So I'm so glad that when you told me before, I was like, yeah, that's smart. That's real. Outside of epilepsy, which is my big cause, which we'll talk about.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're doing that. How did you guys get hooked up with them?
So 4 years ago, during pandemic, me and a couple other podcasters, we said, right now charities were getting hammered. Right in 2020, we also that same year we also did something for Toys for Tots. It was one of those things where I don't know, and it's not in any way meant to. I mean, look, you do a lot with charity too, and it's when you talk about it, sometimes you feel kind of strange because you feel like you're kind of humble bragging. But the reality is, we said we need to do something for charity, and we had that because we did podcasts, because we did live streaming. We had a platform. We just talked about it before. We had made friends across the internet, across the country, across the world. And we said, let's see what we can do. The first year we raised about $5,000. Last year we raised over $15,000. So every year it's getting a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter. It just, again, I was talking to somebody at a party the other day, and it's just a matter of just give a little bit. And that's the same thing. If anybody who's watching this, what they don't realize, if you think, well, a $10 donation doesn't do anything, it does a lot, because all of those donations add up. As I spoke this week to one of our partners at Make-A-Wish, and they reminded me, and this is a number that kills me, and it's true. Make-A-Wish grant a wish on the average every 33 minutes, and they're able to grant a wish. But a kid is diagnosed with a life-changing illness every 20 minutes, which means that they are constantly playing catch up. And then the other big and important thing for me is that 9 out of 10 doctors, they did a study, 9 out of 10 doctors said that a Make-A-Wish makes a difference in that fight. So your $10, your $20, your $50, you can't measure what that means. And it's not always just sending kids to Disney World or to Hawaii. It's a bike. It's a PlayStation. It makes
by the way,
difference.
whatever that is, it lets them know, this is what my thing is all about. We'll talk about it, that they're not alone, that there are people that care, that there's others going through it, that there's compassion out there. And also it lets the caregivers know. I'm doing a series called the Caregiver Series. If you go to thecaregiverseries.com, I'm traveling around the country, and I'm taking caregivers out for a day of care, right? I partnered with Jazz Pharmaceuticals Supports, talk about it, my podcast, and they've been amazing. And it's like a real show. I host it, but I'm so proud of it because, when you sit, there's a shorthand that you have with another caregiver. And just like Make-A-Wish, when I see that somebody donated $10 is easier to donate than $100, $1,000, $10,000. But when you see that, it's so easy that other people are like, oh, it takes the onus where you're like, oh, it's okay to donate $10. Then 20,000 people donate $10, and now you got $200,000. So it's like I think I did the math right, but that's really great. I mean, I think it's awesome. So
tell us a little bit about Talk About It. I again, another really amazing cause.
Thank you. So Jake, our oldest son, we have 3 boys, and Jake is 27 now, and he's doing great. I mean, he works at Bad Robot with JJ's godparents, JJ and Katie, but he's second degree Taekwondo, black belt. He's got a great girlfriend, Morgan, and all of his life. He's just living his best life. He's doing great. And he has epilepsy. Mm-hmm. And when he was 7, he started having seizures. We went through what I call the car wash and the roller coaster of this. He's had 2 brain surgeries. He's taking medication that's saving his life. And but it's, he's an example of someone who's living well with it. A lot of people aren't, but a lot of people are experiencing what we experienced a few times, which is just feeling alone and not having a voice, not having, not realizing that 3+ million people just in the US alone, 65 million people around the world are dealing with seizures and epilepsy. And so you hear that number and it's like, okay, but when you need something tangible, you need somebody. I took it upon myself to be that face of epilepsy as much as I can, remove the stigma. It's scary to see someone have a seizure, but at the same time, if you know what to do, you turn them on their side, you make sure they're not scraping their head against the ground. The seizure's going to stop. And if it doesn't stop after 2.5 minutes, call the paramedics, but never stick anything in their mouth ever. All of these messages are on our podcast. I do a podcast called Talk About It. And I also have and videos from every celebrity you can ever imagine. Everybody I've worked with, from Lady Gaga, Jennifer Garner, Harrison Ford. Everybody's affected by this. I just had Lake Bell on the podcast. Her daughter has epilepsy. And Josh Duhamel was just hosting the walk here in LA. He has a family member affected. And it's just unfortunate, but fortunate that we can bond together. We can come together. Another thing, by the way, I want to say is that these communities that are like Star Wars is so strong. Like the fan base gets behind a cause. Star Trek, they get behind a cause, man. It's amazing. So I'm trying to harness the power of all that celebrity. As bullshit as it is, it's important. It grabs attention, to get people in eyeballs. So if you go to talkaboutitonvideo.com, you'll see all the videos. You'll see all your favorite people asking these questions and then doctors answering them, or go to thecaregiverseries.com and see these videos. But Talk About It it's been really great. And this I made these hats up, because this was our team at the walk. So Talk About It, and then it's got the the URL on the side. But it's great, and we raise awareness, we remove stigma, we don't ask for any money, unlike you clowns that are asking for money. No, and we support, and now we're branching off into other causes and other things. We're doing autism, we're doing Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever. We just had all these people. Efren Ramirez was just in. Howie Mandel was just in. I'm getting these celebrities in to do the podcast. They're doing PSAs for me to talk about rescue meds, to talk about all the stuff that's important in any condition. But then we talk about stuff that's important to them. And so like Howie went off on AFib. He's got AFib. We talk this, and it's just great. It's Talk About It. It's been a great platform, and it's really exploding with the help of guys like you that are helping me get the word out. So
well, we're happy to, and I've worked in healthcare before, and I think what's really unique about what you're doing with Talk About It is, again, you can also tie it in a way to Make-A-Wish, in that you're supporting the support group, because I think that's the thing. I mean, right now, without TMI, we're dealing with stuff with parent age stuff, right?
Yeah, so am I.
And that support group that we need to support that, like, just to keep ourselves from losing our minds, right? To feel like, hey, we're not the only ones going through this. It's so.
By the way, I just saw, and I know this is not time to be funny, but you just reminded me of something. There's a comedian. I don't know who he is. I'm going to butcher, but I saw it on social media today. It was so funny. He was like, do you remember when your kids were like really, really little, and then your parents came over and they were like, oh, we'll watch them for a little bit. He said, when grandparents come over and watch the little kids, it's like somebody returning to a job they haven't done in 35 years and going, oh yeah, I used to do this. No. And you're like, no. Everything's different, and they're like, feed them sugar, do this, do that. Yeah. It was just so funny, but it's interesting because my mom has early onset and my dad is 92 this year. And this is a whole other level of caregiving that everybody relates to. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but it's tough. It's a whole new thing where you go, wait, roles are being reversed here.
Yep. And
there needs to be tons of understanding. There needs to be talk about talking about it. Like, we need to be able to have open dialogue with our spouse, with our siblings, because our cousins or aunts and uncles, everybody needs to have compassion, slow down. No, you're not right. I'm not right. It's like, how is the care gonna, it's brutal, man.
And the stress of the caregiver, whether it's an epilepsy parent or a cancer kid patient, parent, or taking care of a parent, there's something to be said to be able to just sort of sit down and, talk about it, which is just such a brilliant name to go with on all that stuff. So So, but love it. That's great.
And I want to ping on something that you talked about too, Greg. You said, these communities, Star Wars, Star Trek, they respond when there's causes, when there's things. I'd love your insight. Why do you think it is? What do you think it is about fandom communities that respond in this way when there's causes going on?
I think because it elongates the love you have for something common, like some commonality. I really do believe that we all want to be a part of something.
Sure.
And it's, I just recently lost a guy that I really consider to be he was a friend, and I never met him in person, but he lived, he lives somewhere else. He and his wife on the podcast, and I just fell in love with him and his family and everything. And unfortunately he just passed away, but we bonded over stuff, and he was like, God, you're so different. You're this liberal, crazy guy out there, and I'm like, what does that have? Who cares what I think? We're all, and so there's something that binds us, right? And our love for Star Wars, our love for Star Trek, but it's also not just a love for, it's a love for what it means. It's a love for hope. And there's so many messages and so many things that thematically we hope affect our lives and stuff. And when we all respond to it, we may disagree on the story, but we're responding to the message, and we can all agree on the message, and we all love a good ending and hate a bad ending and want hope. And so it's when you give another reason for that glue to stay together longer, I think that's why people are like, hey, and also you want to be a part of something that actually makes a difference.
Right.
Yeah. Today, all we're doing is separating each other and hating on each other, and it's us versus them. And it's being reinforced so that people get power, and they're using us as pawns. It's like, we all love Star Wars. Hey, we can all make a difference because we all came together, because we all met. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think that's a great observation. I think it's, the communities, that's what the word community means, right? You're coming together for something.
Yeah.
So we've said the word Star Wars and the words Star Trek. I have to ask, you're the only actor I can think of off the top of my head who's been in both Sar Wars and Star Trek. I'm sure.
No.
Am I missing?
Pegg.
I'm probably missing some
Pegg
really
has been
obvious.
in both.
Oh yeah, Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, right?
Deep Roy has been in both.
Oh, right.
But these people have not necessarily been in both without prosthetics.
Correct.
That's the thing I told Simon. I was like, Simon, no.
It doesn't.
Deep cuts people know, but dude, come on. Now, I didn't write a Star Trek. The guy is so much more talented than I am, but I still. No, there are a few people, but I seem to be the bearing the torch of that proudly, so proudly. But always people are like, what's your favorite? If you could pick between one, and it's like, give me a break, man. What's my latest residual check? Which one was that from? Okay, I love them.
Today's
equally.
favorite.
I love them equally. I really do. I mean, I have to say, I was not a giant Star Trek fan growing up. I just wasn't. That wasn't, so it was very intimidating when I go to these, like my band is playing Star Trek convention in August. We're going back. We played last year, and they asked us to play again in Vegas, and it's amazing. The first time that I got asked to go to a convention and then host, I had to interview Shatner, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, what? I don't know these. I don't know enough. And Wheaton, Will was like, dude, just ask one question and then get the fuck out.
Yep.
Because Bill will just talk. And
Bill's got it.
Bill's got it. Like, drop the mic into his hand and you're good. And that's exactly what happened. But also, don't admit that you know anything more than you do. When someone says, oh, remember that thing and the thing. If you don't remember, it's okay with these, with these canons to go, people come up to me and they're like, your mom was such a great pilot. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and then I have to research it and look it up. It's okay to not, know as much as other people. Don't pretend,
Right.
And the communities are sweet. They'll guide you through it,
Yes.
It's I mean, but come on. Dr. Bones, you had to have,
I know. Well, there's
or Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones. See, I'm a Star Wars guy, and
you don't even get it either.
I know. I was going to let it go, but
he was going to let you slide, Pete. Good job. Speaking of Star Wars, you have a story for us. We have talked to you before. You're on a couple of years ago. We had a lot of fun. Tell us this story, because I've heard part of this and I'm ready to hear the whole thing.
Okay, this is insane. So my son, who was the inspiration, I'm just going to plug away.
Yes.
My son, who was the inspiration for Dream Jumper, my graphic novels, book 1 and 2.
You get them on Amazon right now, right? I mean, they're still there on Amazon.
Oh, no,
right?
no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go get them. Go.
Scholastic put it out. It's about
my
a kid.
son loves it. My son freaking loves it.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Yeah, it's about a kid who's able to jump in and out of his friends' dreams and save them from their nightmares. Stuff's happening with the books. I can't talk about it, but I'm so excited about it. Anyway, nice. So the main character's name is Ben, and my son Ben is the one who had this nightmare, and it all started from there. Anyway, so I'm shooting episode 9, and it's Christmas time, and everybody's on vacation. And I decided this is the perfect time to bring my family had never been to Europe. My wife and I had, but my boys hadn't. So I said, okay, let's go over to London. So they came over. We were shooting at Pinewood. And so we came over there. I didn't realize, of course, when they came over, we're seeing all the sights and going around London, and it's just great. And then I said, okay, we're going to go out to Pinewood. We're going to go to the stages. And they're like, oh, this is going to be great. So we get there. And as soon as we check in, they're like, all right, so no one's here right now. So no photos, right? You can't have your phones. And we were like, okay. And this head of security said, I'll take you guys around. So he takes us around. He takes us on stage. As soon as they get on stage and he closes the door, he goes, can I have a picture? And I was like, what? nicest guy you can imagine, right? So he was just so sweet, showed us everywhere. And one of the things he showed us was the Falcon, and he showed us the cockpit is separate on the Falcon. So I've told the story of JJ and JJ was already shooting, but I was walking through the Millennium Falcon, not allowed to have my phone. Meanwhile, I've got my phone out. I'm like, what are you gonna tell me? I'm JJ's best friend. What are you gonna say? And I was shooting. It was just like that, Chewie, we're home moment for me. I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, so it was all dark, and it's not very impressive. When the Falcon's impressive, we took pictures in there and everything. But then the cockpit is separate. It's off the ground, and it's all wide open. So it's just a bunch of, it's the inside is all there, and having flown an X-Wing, I can tell you, things are held together with rubber cement. Things are falling apart. I mean, it's like, it's what you expect, right? But it's really impressive. Anyway, he says, no, you boys have to go up there. They got to sit in the cockpit. So, okay. So he gets a ladder, and it goes off, gets a ladder, brings it over, and says, all right, boys, get up there. They all climb up, and now they're in the cockpit. And he goes, all right, I couldn't even take a picture of them because it was, 6 feet off the ground was their feet, and then they're up there. And the guys, and they're up there, and they're like, whoa, this is so cool, just sitting in here, just being in here. And it's on a gimbal. That's why it's off the ground, so that they can move it and everything. So he then says, okay, he goes, wait, I got to go get another ladder. Something happened with the ladder. He's like, I got to get another ladder to get them off. So he goes to get the other ladder, comes back. We get down. We walk around the lot a little bit, exteriors, and then we go, and we're in the car. And my son says to me, and I go, and they were like, Dad, thanks so much. That was so cool. I'm like, absolutely, no problem. And then I hear Sam go, then tell him. And I'm like, what just happened? And he goes, well, I shouldn't have, but, and this is something that any other dad may have gone, what did you do? And scold your son. Proudest moment of my life. He goes, hey, Dad, I stole Chewie's seatbelt. I stole Chewie's seatbelt. Now, you have to understand, when I was shooting Star Wars, my badge, I wanted my badge. That's all I wanted. No. As soon as they said cut, they came over and they were like, all right. and they made sure they get all the props back and everything, the gun. I wanted my helmet. I wanted my jumpsuit. I wanted anything from Star Wars, nothing. And I can tell you, Billy told me that even Carrie got nothing. Like back then they held on to everything, so you have to like kind of be sneaky. I was like, Ben, you are my favorite son and will be my favorite son forever. I'm not going to lie. I mean, dude, how cool is this?
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
Right
and I'm sure there are 16 of these, I'm sure. But then, I don't know if you remember, but like Rian Johnson had months, whatever, years, a couple of years later or whatever. Oh, no, it was before. Somebody had asked Rian Johnson about the seatbelts in the Falcon. That was a question that people asked. Did they wear seatbelts? And he responded. He was like, yeah, Chewie's got a seatbelt. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, it's out there.
It doesn't work anymore, but he's got a seatbelt.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get a little nervous. Somebody's narking you out or something. You got to be
right.
careful.
Exactly. But I got to say, as soon as my character went down in a ball of flames, I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? I got a seatbelt.
It's my seatbelt now.
Yeah, come after me. Who cares? So no, I'm just so it's the highlight of my career. I've been so lucky, to work with amazing people and everything, but to be a part of Star Wars for me, just because it meant so much to me, and then to be able to make a difference and meet guys like you, and then also, be able to do something to help Make-A-Wish, was one of my favorite charities. It's just awesome. It just gets better and better.
It's truly fantastic, and this has been so much fun. You're always so good to hang out. You have the best stories. You bring the best energy. We cannot thank you enough for joining us today. We want to encourage everybody to support Make-A-Wish. Hit that QR, hit the code, hit the address, all those things. But also, we want everybody to check out your stuff too. Make sure everybody knows where they can find that.
Absolutely. I'll tell you about all my stuff. Follow me on Twitter, and I'm constantly, or X or whatever, I'm constantly posting there, and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But also, go to talkaboutit.org, talkaboutitonvideo.com, and thecaregiverseries.com. And one last thing I will tell you is you reminded me, one of my favorite things to do when arguing with people about Star Wars, or passionately discussing, I should say, Star Wars or anything else. Some people want me to solve arguments, and they've asked me. One of my most popular cameos is having somebody have Snap Wexley just clear it and end the conversation and the argument for them, and it's awesome. I'm breaking up couples now. I think Cameo, like, the novelty is over, so I'm literally, look at this, hey. Hey! Snap Wexley dies again in a ball of flame. But the cameos that people are asking me to do right now are hilarious, and a lot of them are, can you solve this argument we're having once and for all about Episode 7? I mean, it's just hilarious. So awesome. Go to Cameo and book me. I'm more than happy to tell your Uncle Lou to go to hell.
That's fantastic.
That's what everybody needs. Well, Greg, we truly cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
May the force be with all of us, and thank you. You did not have to help a charity, and people need to remember that. You guys are good guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Around the Galaxy. Thank you to Greg Grunberg, and thank you for listening. Don't forget to connect with us and stay updated with all the latest news and episodes. You can find us at our website at theSSWnetwork.com. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at theSSWnetwork.com. Or you can keep up with the show specifically on Twitter at ATGcast. Don't forget, you can also join our Patreon program at patreon.com/theSSWnetwork and leave us a voicemail at 504-321-1501. What did you think of this episode? What's on your mind? Do you like the show? What would you change? What do you want to tell us? Maybe we'll play your voicemail in an upcoming episode. Don't miss out on the excitement. Join us as we explore the galaxy together week to week. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Around the Galaxy. Around the Galaxy is copyright 2024 Pete in the Seat Studios. Our music is brought to us by the band Apollo's Ghost, which can be found on all your favorite music platforms.